So it's it's still crazy to me to think that Jay and Silent Bob, you guys got your own movie and it got to be this huge fun adventure. I mean, what is it like for you looking back on that film, all these 20 years later?
All the films, man, looking back, still, especially now, because right now we're filming Clerks 3. It's like each, each movie, it's just surreal each time that I get to do a movie. Because again, we did Clerks 1. It's like, I didn't plan on doing a movie. And even after we did that movie, it was like, oh, cool, we made a movie. That was cool that you asked me to be part of it. I went back to roofing and doing my normal 9 to 5 job. And even after Mallrats, I went back to delivering pizza and doing construction, doing Chasing Amy, all the way up to Dogma. I worked 9 to 5s. So again, each time we get to do the movies, man, it's so much fun, so surreal to me. And especially now, like each time we get Mallrats hit its 20 years, and then Chasing Amy, and now we're at Jay and Silent Bob. It's surreal. And now we're filming Clerks 3, which is just crazy because it's, that one was done 30 years ago almost. Oh my goodness gracious. So it's very it's so much fun, and it's so surreal to me. And again, I was just mentioning to the other gentleman, the great thing is now is like, as time gone on, it's like it's a family affair now, because of course Kevin and I are like family. But not only that, my wife now is producing. She produced Reboot. She produced Yoga Hosers, and her and Kevin are business partners. So she came out. We got to come out together. Me, her, and my 6-year-old, and my mother-in-law are all got to come out and work together, and it's just amazing. I mean, it's so awesome.
That is awesome that it's been this huge journey after all this time. One of the things I love especially about Strike Back is how, sort of like Mallrats, it was, it had that mixed reception upon initial release, but then has gone on to be, one of the more celebrated of the whole bunch. I mean, what's that like for you, sort of looking back on that
yeah.
wave of
what I remember, man, it's funny to think, is because like for me, each time we did the movie, especially not so much Mallrats, but Clerks and then Mallrats, like after Clerks, I didn't think anything of the movie. I just was like, oh, cool. And I went back to job, like I said. Mallrats was a little more real because it was a studio movie and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I just got to work with Shannon Doherty, all that. Strike Back, Strike Back for me is like, it was such a fun movie. Sorry, I keep getting texts. I should have blocked my thing, but I got distracted on the question.
No worries.
What was the question again? Exactly.
What has it been like for you, seeing sort of the same, there was the initial same mixed reaction as Mallrats.
Yes, sorry, I know now.
Become celebrated since.
Yes, I remember. Sorry. So what it was like then? For me, what I was going to say is, all the movies just it didn't really register for me, and especially that part of it. That part of it to me was like such a of course I hope for the best, but where I really got to see it is Kevin. I remember Mallrats, like we're like, oh my god, it's a studio movie, and of course like we didn't know anything about movies except for what Kevin was. I wasn't a big movie guy who read reviews and like watch box office numbers and all that. That didn't really make sense to me. But reason I did follow along and paid attention somewhat is because of course, Kevin would get me hyped up. He'd be like, bro, if this does well, like we could maybe do another one, and probably people are gonna want you to do another one. And that was exciting for me. But also it was so heartbreaking for Kevin. And I remember it used to break his heart because, it's like watch it. Again, I guess it only matters it matters to everyone. Everyone wants their movie to do well, of course, and all that. But I remember him watching like weekend box office reviews and numbers and being like bummed out and stuff. And and I remember like being like, Mallrats is amazing. Why didn't it do great? Like, why didn't the whole world see it? And then after it came out on DVD, it like really did well. And one of the ones that stood out to me the most, especially, and then again, Strike Back, I'm like, well, Ferrell's in it, Judd Nelson, Affleck at that point, and Matt Damon were huge, and all the cameos and all that stuff. It blew my mind that it didn't do better. And then, but which one really shocked me? And you then start to go, well, was it the poster? Because Zach and Miri, the poster was stick figures. And I know that I'm somebody that when someone's like, hey man, did you see the new movie with, I don't know, I'll just throw out any name, like Tom Johnson. And I'll be like, who's that? And they'll be like, the guy who plays this character. And I'll be like, oh my God, I love him. I'm so bad at actors' names, their real names. So I don't know, but I thought when we did Zach and Miri, I'm like, Seth Rogen was on fire. Like the last 4 movies before Zach and Miri, they were all huge box office hits and humongous. And we're like, Seth Rogen's in this movie. And the script is, I mean, besides it being a funny script and it was Kevin's and it was us, I'm like, regardless of any of that, Seth Rogen's in it. Like, it's going to do great. People are going to want to watch Seth Rogen's new movie regardless. But it wasn't the case. It was such a disappointment. And it was one of those things where it's like, why? What was it? And again, but so I don't know. My point. So I guess like, it's funny. I never really thought of that because again, throughout the years, I've never thought of that. Not so much as for me, like, oh my God, this is going to make me rich or anything like that. Cause I don't think any of that matters, but I'm just like, it does. I don't think if a movie does well anyway, I guess, unless it's an Avengers movie, you start getting huge residuals. But the point is I'm saying it wasn't so much me as much as how disappointing I remember it was for Kevin. And I don't know if I should share that, but I'm sure he shared it himself. Yeah, I don't know if I should. I guess I should. I don't know. I don't think that would bum him out that I mentioned that because again, it used to hurt my heart to see his heart broken, and that was a real bummer to me. It really was. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was weird. But yes, it was great because it was great because back then I remember when it would hit DVD, it seemed like our movies were like people loved the DVD and people start talking about it and review, like people would just start saying, oh my gosh, I saw that movie on DVD. And it's crazy now because of course it's a different world now. You don't see there's no DVDs so again, so I it's like now it's Netflix and all the other different places that movies can go, internets, the worldwide interwebs. So it'll be interesting. It's interesting. But I don't know. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, it did. It did. So I mean, obviously, like you said, the movie was fun to make, but when Kevin first approached you about it, did you feel any like sort of hesitation or like nervousness over the fact that it was going to be you and him getting a whole movie instead of just being supporting characters?
No. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I believe I felt that. Of course, I was nervous because I knew there'd be a lot of pressure on me, but there was no hesitation. I mean, again, anytime I get to work with Kevin, it was awesome. But again, for me, the difference was at that point, it's like each movie, I would like when I did Clerks, I was so nervous being in front of the camera. And when I went to do Mallrats, man, I remember being terrified every day I had to be on camera. It would be my turn and I'd be so nervous about choking. Because when we did Clerks, like I couldn't even act in front of people. I'd be like, dude, can you ask everyone to go inside, man? Like, I don't want anyone watching me. And back then, because it wasn't a studio movie, I could drink a little bit. Plus, I was a normie. I wasn't a normie, but then I didn't know at that point that I was, I was a drug addict, alcoholic. That didn't really start happening until the like Chasing Amy Dogma was when I was like pretty bad shape. Jay and Bob, I had just gotten sober. So I had to really focus. I was very excited because I'm like, all right, man, I'm sober. I'm healthy. Like I'm going to really focus on this movie and really, I need to do a good job. But again, I knew it was going to be a lot of work and pressure. And there was I shot every day. I was in every scene, just like Reboot. We were just talking about that, me and Kevin and the wife, because last one we did was Reboot, and I was there every day, 12 hours a day. And this one, I worked like 3 days last week, and I worked yesterday for like an hour because I had one line yesterday. So I was there maybe 2 hours. Friday, I was there maybe 4 hours because I had like 2 scenes. One of them was dancing, the other one was me, saying one line of dialogue. So it's been nice because it's like I get to be part of the movie and be there almost every day, but I'm only there for a couple hours. And then I could go home and hang out with my kid, or I can wake up and stream on Twitch. Where last one, there was no downtime. It was literally like I wake up 6 a.m. I'm going to work. At night, I'd have to come home and memorize. I'd have to be up for 2 hours at least trying to memorize my dialogue for the next day because I had so much dialogue. It was, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. It was awesome. I'm just saying, like, what a difference now. But Strikes Back, I remember being the same way. The difference was I didn't have a 6-year-old kid and I wasn't married at that point. So, it was a lot of time just me hanging with Kevin and memorizing my dialogue. And we'd take walks every day. I would go, we'd go do fun stuff. I still lived in Jersey. So for me, it was awesome because now I'm from Jersey. I live in Jersey, and it's like now I'm staying in LA in a guest, it wasn't an Airbnb, it was a guest house then that we rented, and like hanging out in California. It was amazing. So anyway, I had so much fun on Strikes Back. It was so surreal. We were on the CBS Radford lot, and it was awesome because we all had our own go-karts, golf carts. Yeah. Because everything was sort of far away. So to get from one place to the next, we drive golf carts. So we would like race each other on the golf carts from one studio to the next studio. It was amazing, man. It was so much fun.
Did you ever use that time to also sort of peek in on other sets while you were there?
Oh yeah. I would always try to peek in on other things filming, but again, they're usually pretty locked down. But it was cool because security, if they weren't filming at the time, I honestly don't right now remember what they were filming at that point in what studio, but I remember, like if they weren't filming, that the security would like let me peek in, and I'd get to see some cool sets that were set up for like, oh, this used to be that show, or this is that show, they just haven't broke it down, but this is the new set for this show coming up. So yeah, it was so much fun going and shooting, filming on a lot. So
what was it like for you? You mentioned all the fun sequences and all the people that you got to act with. One of my favorite scenes from Strike Back still is yours and Kevin's fight with Mark Hamill, and the fact that it literally, you just name him Mark Hamill. And but what was that like for you? Looking back on that fight, what was that like getting to recreate that?
Yeah, it was really awesome. Again, so blown away and surreal to me that not only at that point was I getting to work with and meet Mark Hamill, but then I also got to do like something that I would imagine, many people in the world would love to do, is get the, lightsaber fight with them. And it wasn't lightsabers, they were blunt sabers, what have you. But it was so surreal, man. Like just listening to them chat and stuff, it would give me butterflies. It really would. Like, again, over the years, the people I've gotten to work with and meet and stuff is blown me away. It still does. Meeting Stan Lee the first time, and even every time after that. It's funny because we worked with Stan Lee a few times, and then I would see him out at cons. And even though it'd been 20 years of knowing him and running into him and saying hello to him, each time, I'm not kidding you, when he would say hello to me, it would give me butterflies because it would remind me of like, hello, spider friends. Like my childhood, like, a 12-year-old kid that watched Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends would remember that, and it would like come rushing back to these memories. And it was so awesome. But yes, meeting all of them, Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, but Princess Leia, Alan Rickman, Chris Rock, like everybody is over the years. And then now going to cons is so much fun, like, because I get to go hang out in the green room, and I still get nervous. Like, I'll go in the green room and they're like, Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi and the cast from Game of Thrones, and I'll be like, oh, and they'll be like, do you want to sit down and have a sandwich here? And I'll be like, no, I'll be out there. I'll be waiting out there. Like, I don't even want to sit in there because I'm so nervous about sitting next to someone and they start talking to me. You know what I mean? So, and I say something silly, but I love it. It's again, I'm not, I kid you not, 30 years of doing this, and it's still like I'm constantly reminded of how lucky I am and surreal this is. Every time I go do stand-up comedy and it sells out, I'm like, wow, all these people came, 400 people came to listen to me talk about my ball bag. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so surreal.
Well, I'm glad that you've gotten to have this road so far. I'm really looking forward to when we get to hear more about Clerks 3 and your return, because I mean, I think the Clerks movies are definitely some of my favorites. So I look forward to seeing it. And I hopefully with the 20th anniversary, more people check out Strike Back if they haven't already.
100%. I love the shirt too.